As we continue on with some draft content here on this channel, today we'll be doing something a bit different. We've put out our big board ranking the prospects, we've done a mock draft, but now we're going to be looking a bit further into the playstyles of the players themselves. Specifically, in today's video, we will be comparing the biggest names in the 2020 NBA draft to players that they play like and could develop into similar contributors for whoever drafts them. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first player we'll be making a comparison for is the player projected to go #1 overall by many, being Anthony Edwards, and for him, I actually have two names of players he compares to, being Zach LaVine and Dion Waiters. I couldn't decide on one or the other because I see characteristics in him from both of them, and realistically, he should end up being a good mix of both. For the Waiters comparison, this goes more into his earlier seasons when he was a solid shot creator off the dribble and capable of making some tough shots, but all the while not necessarily being the most efficient scorer overall. However, I do believe Edwards has more upside, which is where the LaVine comparison comes in. He's not the explosive athlete that LaVine is, but as a shooting guard, they're both pretty confident shot makers, and Edwards could definitely be a guy averaging over 20 points per game in his career. Like LaVine and Waiters, he will need to improve defensively, but he still has a very bright future for sure. Up next, we have arguably the biggest name in the draft, LaMelo Ball, and the player I see him comparing to at the next level is a taller version of Trae Young. See, Trae has taken the league by storm with his elite ability to handle the ball and get to his spots with ease, despite not possessing elite speed or athleticism. They're both ridiculously creative and crafty with the way they control an offense. They are both unbelievable passers of the basketball, with floor vision that simply can't be taught. They both came into the league with efficiency issues, despite their ability to shoot the ball comfortably from distance being obvious, and finally, they both have a glaring weakness on the defensive end of the floor. LaMelo being 6'7" will also help him a ton in the league with the way he plays, so even though he's much taller than Trae is, his playstyle should still translate seamlessly. Up next is James Wiseman, and for his comparisons, I was once again stuck between two players, being DeAndre Jordan and Chris Bosh. Wiseman's a towering center that moves well, works pick and rolls, protects the rim, and is a beast of an athlete, so at minimum, he should bring a DeAndre Jordan-like production to whatever team he goes to. However, Wiseman has shown off glimpses of a serviceable jump shot, so while we don't really have any real evidence of how useful it is, if that comes into play, then he could end up more like a Chris Bosh-like player who became a very solid interior defender while being able to space the floor for Toronto and Miami. Next up, we'll be discussing Obi Toppin, and I promise this is the last occurrence of this, but I was once again stuck between two guys that I think he compares to, being Aaron Gordon and Blake Griffin. Both Gordon and Griffin are ridiculous athletes who attack the rim and finish powerfully when they're above the basket, they're good at getting out in transition, and both are capable shooters from the perimeter while not necessarily being good shooters by any means. Gordon seems to be Toppin's floor, while Griffin is obviously his ceiling. And I lean more towards the Griffin side of things because Toppin's post-game is also arguably the best in the draft, and he finishes very efficiently around the basket, so his scoring numbers could be more complementary to Blake Griffin. I personally am high on Toppin as a prospect and think he could be a star in the making, but realistically, he's somewhere between the two players that I named. Up next, we'll be discussing Onyeka Okongwu, and the player I think he compares to in the NBA is Bam Adebayo. Adebayo had a major breakout season this year, being named to the All-Star game, and the reason for his success comes in large part on the defensive end of the floor. Bam is not an ordinary rim protector by any means, because even though he definitely does an excellent job in the interior, he comfortably and regularly switches out onto the perimeter and holds his own against smaller, seemingly quicker players. He's an incredibly versatile defender, and that's exactly what scouts love about Okongwu. In the modern NBA, players like Adebayo are more important than ever, and Okongwu has all the tools and ability to replicate that. Next up, we'll be discussing Killian Hayes, and the player he compares to at the next level is Goran Dragic. Dragic has had a long, successful career in the league because of his crafty, creative ability to make plays and score the basketball, and Hayes brings a lot of the same skill set to the table. They both work well using ball screens, are good passers with excellent court vision, and similar to how Hayes is a developing shooter at this point, so was Dragic at this point in his life as well. What they lack in explosive athleticism, they make up for in basketball IQ and skill, and like Dragic, I think Hayes will be a very good point guard throughout his career and a borderline all-star at his peak. Up next, we have Isaac Okoro, and the player he resembles at the next level is OG Anunoby. Anunoby's defense out on the perimeter is what makes him such a valuable asset in the Raptors' rotation right now, and Okoro is the best perimeter defender in the class. Both players have similarly strong frames, powerful legs, quick feet, and defensive tools to become elite versatile defenders. Offensively, they're both limited creators, but very effective and efficient off-ball scorers for utilizing cuts to the basket and driving and finishing. Anunoby wasn't exactly a good shooter when he came into the league, but he's developed into an efficient spot-up shooter, and the hope is that Okoro develops similarly. Up next, we'll be discussing Deni Avdija, and the player I believe he compares to at the next level is Gordon Hayward. Now, I realize this isn't a perfect comparison, but this was one of the more difficult ones to make, and in many ways, it does kinda make sense. Like Hayward, Avdija is a big wing player that comfortably handles the ball and operates as a secondary playmaker. He's a very good passer on the wing, he's good with or without the ball, and he's an improving shooter. He's very versatile on the offensive end, and he's capable of playing a point forward role. He will need to improve as a shooter to match Hayward though, as he's only a 32% shooter from deep right now, but his mechanics are promising and the rest of his game is sound. Next up, we'll be discussing Cole Anthony, and the player I see him playing similarly to at the NBA level is Austin Rivers. Rivers, like Anthony, came into college as an incredibly hyped up prospect, but after a year in college, the hype has kind of cooled off a bit. Rivers was still a lottery pick, and Anthony still might be as well, but at the NBA level, they're both players that you can bring in off the bench to ignite the offense. Rivers has had a solid career scoring the ball as a bench option, he's very shifty and good at changing speeds to get by defenders, and even though his efficiency wavers, he's still a comfortable 3-level scorer. That's exactly what Anthony has shown so far, and it's everything I think he can be. Up next, we'll be discussing Tyrese Haliburton, and the player I see him comparing to at the NBA level is Malcolm Brogdon. Brogdon's a steady, smart point guard that always focuses on making the right play, he doesn't try to do too much, and he's highly efficient because he takes shots he knows he can make. He's not the most dynamic scorer, but he's highly effective nonetheless. Haliburton isn't a dynamic shot creator, but he's still a very efficient scorer, he runs the offense to a T and gets others involved, and overall he has very high basketball IQ. And finally, the last player we'll be discussing is RJ Hampton, and the player comparison I see for him is Jordan Clarkson. Hampton's coming into the NBA as a combo guard who will also likely be bringing his impact on a team in the form of scoring in bunches and being capable of heating up at any given moment. Clarkson's career, and especially most recently in Utah, has been made through his ability to ignite the offense and be a shot maker. Hampton and Clarkson are both highly capable shooters despite their percentages being mediocre. They both operate well with the ball in their hands to create offense for themselves, and they both have similar size and styles of play. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below any other players you think these prospects compare to. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.